let's go back to you.
All right, Donald, this is Roxanne McGaffigan, 38-year-old, married with 3 kids, registered Republican, leaning your way, but still undecided.
Come on, we have to get you our way. I want to see you. What are you doing after this? I want to talk to you.
What I would like to know is what efforts are you making to secure the female vote, and why should women be voting for you?
Okay, it's such a great question. Look, I have tremendous respect for women, and I am going to protect women. I'm going to protect the whole country, because our country needs protection. We don't have the right people protecting, and I even consider military protecting women and the country. But my wife and my daughter, Ivanka, who everybody respects, and women respect Ivanka so much, she just got a big award from Fortune as a Woman of the Year type thing, and she gave a whole forum. And women have, and perhaps you do too, she's an amazing young woman. She said, Dad, you respect and love women so much. Could you talk about it more? Because people don't really understand how you feel. And when Bush came out against funding women's health issues, I went wild. I said, that's not going to happen. I think my relationship with women in terms of this whole situation has been really good. I actually score very well in most of the polls with women. And, you know, I just, it's hard to sort of prove it, but I do have my daughter and my wife said you have to talk more to women, because your relationship with women and the respect you have with women has to be out there. And I do have great respect for women, and I have respect for you.
You say you're doing well with women, but Friday night at one of your events, you admitted to your own supporters that you were having some trouble getting the support of women.
I said my support with men is through the roof. The support with women is a little bit less than the men. That's why Ivanka said to me, Dad, you have to go out and you have to talk about it, because there's nobody that's better to women. You know, in the construction industry, I had a woman 35 years ago as my #1 person building Trump Tower. That was unheard of. 50% of my executives are women, and many of them make more than the men executives. So I've had that great relationship with women.
Willie.
All right, Mr. Trump, this is Donna Morris, 46 years old, married with 2 sons, independent voter, and the president of the Salem Chamber of Commerce.
Hi.
Hi,
Good morning.
Donna.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Before I came to the Chamber world, I was raised as a military child, so I'm very concerned with national defense and the U.S.'s role on the world stage. How would you address the situation with ISIS?
I would build our military so strong and so good. You know, it's very much depleted. General Ordiano the other day when he's leaving, and he said our army is in the worst shape it's been, least prepared that it's been maybe since the beginning, but over the last 50 years. We can't have that. I would make our military so strong, so powerful, so everything that we'll never have to use it, but nobody's going to mess with us. With that being said, we have to do something about ISIS. I was against going into Iraq, and very publicly against it, because you destabilize the Middle East. But I will tell you, and very strongly, Don, and I think it's very important, when they start cutting off people's heads because they're Christian in the Middle East, all over the Middle East, what's happening there, it's like in the old days, I talk about medieval times, Matt, that the most vicious times, you know, where they chop heads. We are right now living in the most vicious times that anybody, they drown people in a cage, they chop off the heads. We have to stop it. And believe me, I'll find a General Patton, because we have great people. We use people that are politically correct all the time. We got rid of one of our best generals because he used foul language. And that's, you know, as to the other question, so important. We will stop ISIS. And by the way, if Russia wants to go into Syria and bomb the hell out of ISIS, I'm sort of okay with that.
Well, wait a second, but let me ask you, that you're saying no one will be tougher against ISIS than I'll be. I'll hit them so hard it'll make their head spin. But you're also saying, well, you know what, if Vladimir Putin wants to fight him, well, that's okay with me.
If he wants to fight him, and if he wants to... Look, we've spent $2 trillion in Iraq, thousands of lives, wounded warriors who I love all over the place, when you get down to Iraq. You look at Afghanistan, you look at all the money, we're spending trillions of dollars. We have to rebuild our country. If Putin wants to go and drop bombs on ISIS, I'm okay with it. But we have to do it too. We have to kill ISIS. Now, I said keep the oil. We shouldn't have gone into Iraq, but we got out the wrong way. When we left Iraq, I said keep the oil. You know who has the oil right now? #1, Iran's going to have all of Iraq, but ISIS has the oil. ISIS is very rich.
So boots on the ground in Iraq, take over the oil
the hell
fields.
out of ISIS. And frankly, if Russia wants to do it also, I'm okay with it. But what I want to get to, I really want to do, I want to get back to rebuilding our country, Matt, because our infrastructure is dead. Our roads, you know it better than I do. Our airports, you travel all over the world. We see airports, both of us, many of the people in this room, that are so beautiful. Our airports are defunct.
Let me ask the room, how many people here, by your applause, would be in favor of large numbers of American forces back in Iraq to take over the oil fields to bring that money back to this country.
And by doing that, you're cutting off ISIS. By the way, that's their primary source
Nobody
of
clapped.
funding. Well, hey, that's what leadership.
all right.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Because I tell you, I do get a good response to that. By doing that, number one, you're cutting off their primary source of funds. ISIS is very rich. They're making $1 million every 2 or 3 hours, they say. You know, they make it from the oil. We should have kept the oil. I said, when we leave Iraq, keep the oil.
Willie.
And you wouldn't have ISIS if that happened.
More foreign policy, different part of the world. This is Maura Wentworth, 43-year-old, 2 kids, veterinary technician, a registered Republican, undecided.
Good morning, Mr. Trump. In terms of foreign policy, what would you do about Russia?
Well, Russia is a very interesting case. We have somebody that has no respect for our president whatsoever. He laughs at our president. He does things that he wants to do, whether it's in Syria, the Ukraine, anywhere you're talking about. I believe, and I may be wrong, but I was on 60 Minutes 2 weeks ago with Vladimir Putin, the two of us, and we got very high ratings, by the way, but I won't mention that. But he was my stablemate. He was my friend, my stablemate. I didn't meet him, but that's okay. I believe I would get along with Putin, and I think it's good if we can get along. And if I can't get along, I know people that will get along. But it won't be like it is right now. And as far as Ukraine's concerned, I agree it's horrible. But you know what? Germany's a very rich country, and so are many of the countries that surround it. And they should be more involved. It shouldn't always be us. We're over there talking about Ukraine. In the meantime, Germany's sending us their Mercedes-Benzes and everything else, and they're not doing anything. At some point, other people in other countries have to get involved. It can't always be the dummy United States led by people that are incompetent, that don't know what they're doing, because we have to rebuild our own country. It's time.
All right. Thank you for your questions in this section of our live town hall meeting with Donald Trump. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back with much more from here in Atkinson, New Hampshire, including questions from our Trump Today hashtag. But first on a Monday morning, these messages in your local news.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.